do something for me in your head right now before I explain a single thing. Cast your mind back to the last hot day you spent with something very cold in your hand, a cup of shaved ice, a thick milkshake, a cone of ice cream melting over your fingers faster than you could eat it. And you were greedy the way every one of us is greedy with cold, sweet things on a hot day, and you took too much, too fast, and you held that cold mass up against the roof of your mouth. And then it came, that spike. That bright, splitting ache that drove itself up behind your forehead, right between your eyes, and screwed your face up, and made you press the heel of your hand to your head and stop breathing for a second, while somebody beside you laughed at you. And then 10 seconds later, 20 at the most, it was gone, completely gone, as if it had never happened at all. And here is the strange part, the part I want you to feel before we go one step further. That has happened to you, more than once, many times, going all the way back to when you were small. You have felt a real, sharp, honest pain drive itself into your skull and then vanish in under half a minute, leaving nothing behind it. No bruise, no mark, no harm done. And you have never once stopped and asked what actually happened in there, why it came so fast, why it went so completely. And most of all, the one that ought to keep you up at night, why the cold went into your mouth and the pain came out in your forehead. Two different places. You never noticed. Nobody ever notices. And it is not just you. Roughly 1 person in 3 gets this, and gets it hard. Everyone who has ever put something very cold into their mouth, very fast, knows this pain by heart. It may be the single most common pain in the whole modern world, and almost nobody alive knows what it truly is. I am Og, and there is snow outside tonight and a good fire in here, and I want to sit with you over a pain your own head makes that you have never once understood. You call it brain freeze, ice cream headache. The learned people who cannot help themselves call it sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia, which is a very long way of saying that a knot of nerves behind the roof of your mouth is complaining. And you think you already know what it is. You are sure of it. And that is exactly why I wanted to start here tonight. Because the thing you are so sure of is not a little bit wrong. It is wrong twice over, in 2 different directions, and the truth underneath is far stranger than the story you have carried since childhood. So let me say out loud the thing you believe, so we can hold it up to the light and take it apart. You believe brain freeze is damage, that the cold got somewhere it should not have gone and hurt something, and the pain is the alarm bell of a small injury. Or you believe the cruder version, the one children are told and half of you grown people still half believe, that the cold actually reached your brain and froze a little corner of it, and the ache is your poor chilled brain protesting the insult. Cold goes in, something gets hurt, the head aches, and it is wrong. Every single part of it is wrong. Here is the turn, and it is a big one, so let me lay it out plainly before I show you how we know. Nothing in your head was damaged. Nothing was frozen. Not one small piece of your brain got cold, and here is the part that always stops people. Your brain could not feel it even if it had. Your brain has no pain sensors in it at all. None. A surgeon can cut into it and work in it while you are wide awake and talking, and you will not feel a thing, because the organ that makes all your pain cannot feel any of its own. So whatever brain freeze is, it is not your brain being hurt. What it actually is an alarm. Your skull runs a warmth-keeping system around the fussiest organ you own, and when a great slab of ice lands on the roof of your mouth, that system panics and throws a lever. And now the second half of the turn, which is stranger still. The pain you feel is not in the place where anything happened. Nothing at all happened in your forehead. It was never cold, never touched, never involved. The entire event took place at the roof of your mouth, an inch or 2 behind your front teeth and just above it. Your brain took a true message from down there and pinned it up on the wrong wall, It guessed at the address, and it guessed wrong, and you have spent your whole life believing the guess. Now, those are two wild claims stacked one on the other. A pain that is not damage, and a pain that is not even where it says it is. So how could anyone possibly know? How do you prove where a pain truly lives, when the only witness you have is a person going, "Oh, my forehead"? Start with the where, because the first clue is one you can catch yourself tonight with any cold drink you like. You do not get brain freeze from cold that goes straight down. You can drink something ice cold in small sips, or swallow a cold mouthful quickly past the roof of your mouth and feel nothing at all. The trouble only ever comes when the cold thing sits and presses against the roof of your mouth, the hard palate, and stays there. That is the trigger, and only that, which already tells you something enormous. The pain is not your brain getting cold, because a spoonful of ice against your palate does not chill your brain, and could not. Your brain sits behind thick bone, wrapped and bathed and defended by a body that guards its warmth above everything else. A cone of ice cream has nothing like the power to reach it. And what sits just above the roof of your mouth, on the far side of that thin plate of bone, is one of the busiest crossroads in your whole head. A dense little knot of nerves, a bundle the learned people call the sphenopalatine ganglion, and right around it, the vessels that carry warm blood to the front of your brain. The roof of your mouth is the thin floor of a very important room. That is why that one spot and no other sets the whole thing off. So here is the machine of it, as best we understand the working. Cold lands hard on that thin palate, and the body's oldest, bluntest answer to cold fires at once, the very same reflex that pulls the blood out of your fingers on a freezing morning. The small vessels clamp down and narrow, holding the warm blood back from the cold. But the vessels clamping here are not the ones in your fingers. They are part of the supply line to the front of your brain, and your brain does not tolerate having its supply pinched. Not for a second. So the correction comes back hard and fast and far too strong. Those vessels are thrown wide open again, wider than before, and warm blood floods back into them in a rush. Clamp then flood in the space of a breath. And here is the thing worth carrying. The pain does not live in the cold. It lives in the rebound, because your skull is a closed box of bone and it does not stretch, not a hair. When vessels inside that box swell and flood, the pressure has nowhere to go. And while the brain itself has no pain sensors, the linings and the vessel walls around it are thickly wired with them. They feel that surge and they shout about it. That shout is your brain freeze, not a frozen brain, a pressure alarm from a warmth-keeping system that overreacted. And this is not a story I am spinning by the fire. Careful people have watched it happen live. Researchers in work led by Jorge Serrador had volunteers sip ice water through a straw held right against the roof of the mouth to bring the brain freeze on deliberately, while they watched the blood moving inside the head with ultrasound. And the pain tracked the vessel exactly. As the artery at the front of the brain flooded wide open, the pain arrived. As that same artery narrowed back down, the pain went away. They watched it come and go on a screen, matching beat for beat what the person in the chair was feeling. That is about as close as anyone has come to catching this thing in the act. But all of that still leaves the strangest part unexplained. Everything I have just described happened at the roof of your mouth and just above it. So why in the world do you feel it in your forehead? And the answer is a thing your body does far more often than you have any idea. It is called referred pain, and it is your brain getting the address wrong. Here is why. The nerve that carries the news up from the roof of your mouth is a branch of the great nerve of the face, the trigeminal. Trigeminal means three twins, three branches. One serves your forehead and the front of your scalp. One serves your cheek, your upper jaw, and the roof of your mouth. One serves your lower jaw. Three branches, one trunk, one thick cable running back into your head, and every signal from all three comes home along that same cable and arrives in the same place. Now think about what your brain has to do when a shout of pain comes screaming up that cable. It has to decide where to put it, where to make you feel it, and it decides the only way it can, by asking where signals on that line usually come from. In your entire life, the roof of your mouth has almost never sent an emergency. But your forehead and your face, the outside of you, the part that gets knocked and scraped and burned and struck by branches, sends emergencies constantly. So the brain, hearing a loud alarm on the face cable, makes the same guess it has made 1,000,000 times and been right about 1,000,000 times. It puts the pain out front on your forehead, behind your eyes, where the trouble usually is. Which, this one time, is utterly wrong. And this is not some rare freak of the body. This is its ordinary way of working. It is the same reason a heart in serious trouble sends its pain down the left arm and up into the jaw, though there is nothing whatever wrong with the arm or the jaw. Your insides are wired thinly and share their cables with your skin, and your brain, which cannot see and has never looked inside you, makes its best guess about the address and delivers to the wrong door. Brain freeze is simply the friendliest, fastest, most harmless example of it you will ever feel. A 10-second demonstration that where you feel a pain and where a pain is happening are two completely different questions. And people have gone at this properly, with a real test, and it is one of my favorites anybody ever ran. In the year 2002, two researchers by the names of Maya Kaczorowski and Janusz Kaczorowski, a daughter and her father, ran a proper trial and wrote it up in the British Medical Journal. They took a group of school children, gave every one of them ice cream, and split them in two by pure chance. One half were told to eat theirs in a great hurry, half of it gone in 5 seconds. The other half were told to take it slowly, more than 30 seconds. Then they counted the headaches. About 27 in every 100 of the hurried ones got the spike. Only about 13 in 100 of the careful ones did. Eating it fast roughly doubled your chance of the pain. And that tells you the thing that matters most. It is not chiefly how cold the thing is. It is how fast you bring the cold onto your palate. And there is a reason careful people bother with a silly ache from a frozen treat at all. Brain freeze is one of the only headaches in the world you can switch on purpose, in a person who has cheerfully agreed to it, and switch off again seconds later with no harm done. That makes it rare and precious, a safe, repeatable model of a headache. Groups at Harvard and elsewhere have used exactly that, because migraine sufferers turn out to be noticeably more likely to get brain freeze too, and if a vessel flooding open and a trigeminal nerve shouting is the shape of the pain in both, the little harmless one may yet teach us how to quiet the big cruel one. Your ice cream headache is a laboratory. So now let us put the whole thing together and reach for the deep why, the reason your body carries this strange overeager machine at all. And here is where this stops being a curiosity and becomes a story about the ancient body you are still walking around inside. Your brain is the one organ you own that truly cannot afford to get cold. Everything else in you will take a chill and carry on. Your fingers can go numb and come back. Your feet can go white and be warmed at a fire. But the brain must be held in a narrow band of warmth, or it slows and slurs and stops making good sense. And a body whose brain has stopped making good sense in a cold and hungry world does not last long. So the long shaping did what it always does with a thing that must never fail. It did not build a delicate instrument that measures how much cold arrived and answers in careful proportion. It built a blunt, fast, overeager guard. Any sudden cold at the gate near the brain's warm supply, slam the vessels shut, then throw them open and flood the warmth back through. Do it hard, do it now. Because a guard that overreacts to a harmless cold 1,000 times costs you nothing but a few seconds of ache, and a guard that reacts too slowly to real cold near the brain, even once, could cost you everything. And now the part that ought to make you smile. Ask yourself what could possibly have set that alarm off in the world it was built for. Your ancestors had no ice cream, no freezers, no shaved ice, no slush, no frozen drink pulled from a humming machine on a hot street. In the whole long history of our kind, until about a blink ago, the coldest thing a human mouth ever met was water out of a winter stream or a handful of snow. And you cannot press snow against your palate and hold it there because it melts and because a mouth is warm. There was no way in the ancient world to slam a great mass of something colder than freezing against the roof of your mouth and keep it there. The trigger did not exist, so you are carrying an emergency brake fitted for a world that had no way to press it. It sat there quietly for hundreds of thousands of years, guarding the warm supply of the brain, almost never once firing. And then in a blink, we learned to make things colder than any river and to sweeten them, and to sell them on hot days in great cold handfuls. And now we press that ancient brake on purpose, several times a summer, for fun. Brain freeze is not your body failing you. It is your body doing exactly the job it was built to do, in a world it was never built for. But now let me draw the honest line and mark plainly which part of all this is solid rock and which part is careful guessing. That the trigger is the palate and not the brain, that is solid. You can prove it on yourself with a cold drink tonight. That the pain is referred, felt in a place it did not happen, along a nerve serving both the palate and the brow, that is solid, and the same trick of the wiring turns up all over the body. That eating it fast roughly doubles your chance of the spike, that was counted and written down. That the artery at the front of the brain floods open as the pain arrives and settles as it goes, that was watched on a screen. All firm ground you can stand on, but the fine plumbing is not finished. Exactly which vessel, exactly which nerve ending does the shouting, whether the pain comes from the swelling itself or the pressure it makes inside a box that cannot stretch, careful people still argue, and the picture has changed more than once and will change again. And the deep reason that this is a guard on the brain's warm blood that we now trip with treats it never met, that is reasoning, not measurement. Nobody dug up an ancestor and tested his palate. And methink, when a body answers a little cold that fast and that hard, and only in the one spot that sits beneath the front of the brain, it is guarding something it cannot afford to lose. But hold that part the way you hold any well-reasoned guess, firmly enough to think with, loosely enough to let go if better evidence ever comes. And all of this is a story about the strange old machine you carry, not one word of advice about your body. Chase no cure here, hold no fear here. If some headache of yours is not like this one, that is a question for somebody who can actually look at you, and not for an old man beside a fire. And now, here is the thing you can go and do with all of it, and it is my favorite gift in this whole story, because it turns knowing into power. The next time that spike hits you, do not sit there and wait it out. Do this instead. Push your tongue flat and hard up against the roof of your mouth, the whole broad flat of it, covering as much of that palate as you can reach, and hold it there. Your tongue is warm and thick with blood, and it is the fastest warm thing you own that can reach that exact spot. So press it up there and count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep it pressed, keep it flat, do not let go. 8, 10, 12. Still pressing, still warm. 15. And you will feel that spike loosen and slide away sooner than it would ever have gone on its own. And when it does, understand what you just did. You reached inside your own head and shut off an alarm your ancestors never once had to think about, using nothing but your tongue. warm the floor, and the room above it stops shouting. Come back with me now to the fire, to a night long ago, because this is where the strange old thing stops being a curiosity and becomes simply a part of an evening. It is deep winter, and the snow lies heavy outside the mouth of the den, and the band is drawn in close around the low flames. And my small son Tem has been out in it the whole afternoon, and he comes crashing in with his cheeks red and his eyes bright and laughing, with a great fistful of clean white snow crammed into his mouth, because he was thirsty, and it was there, and he is a small boy. And then he stops laughing, and his eyes go wide, and he claps both his little hands to his forehead, right above his eyes, and squeezes, and hops from foot to foot with a look of pure betrayal on his face, because something has stabbed him in the front of the head, and all he did was eat snow. And Mara, my wife, who has seen everything a child can do to himself twice over, does not fuss and does not go running for anybody. She kneels down in front of him and tells him what her own mother told her. Shut your mouth, push your tongue up on the roof of it, hard, and hold it there. And he does it, cheeks puffed, eyes screwed shut, waiting. And in a few breaths the thing lets him go, and he is laughing again and gone, back out into the snow. And Mara could not have told you one word about a knot of nerves behind the palate, or a cable of the face with 3 branches, or an artery flooding open at the front of the brain. But she knew the trouble lies in the roof of the mouth and not in the head, because the warm tongue settles it, and she knew it because her mother knew it. She had the fix without the reason. You are about to have both, so let me bring this home now, because this is the part I truly want you to carry out of here. The next time you take too much cold too fast, and that spike drives up behind your eyes, stop for one breath in the middle of it and know exactly what you are looking at. That is not damage. Nothing up there is hurt. Nothing is frozen. That is a guard, older than your language, older than fire, older than our kind, standing watch over the warm blood running to your brain, slamming a lever it was built to slam. And the place it hurts is not even the place it happened. Your own brain, the very thing that guard is protecting, took a true message from the roof of your mouth and pinned it on the wrong wall, out front on your forehead. Your body sent a true alarm. Your brain misfiled it, and you have believed the misfiling your entire life, so you have never once had a frozen brain. What you have is an ancient thermostat guarding your most fragile part, wired into a nerve that shares its line with your whole face, inside a body that never expected, in all the long ages it was being shaped, that you would one day hold something colder than any winter river against the roof of your mouth on purpose, for pleasure, in the middle of summer. Your body is not confused. Your body is doing its job. You invented a thing it was never warned about, and now you press its emergency brake for fun and then complain about the noise. So here is what I would truly love to know, so tell me down in the comments. First, before tonight, did you honestly believe brain freeze was your brain getting cold? Be honest, because almost everyone does. And second, when the next one hits you, are you going to remember the tongue, press it flat against the roof of your mouth, and shut the alarm off yourself? Come back and tell me if it worked. I would test it myself, but the coldest thing I have ever had in my mouth is a handful of snow, and it never lasted long enough. This is Ancient Us, and this whole channel is about the body you are sitting in right now, and all the old machinery still quietly running inside it, long after the world it was built for sank away. This little spike behind your eyes is one piece of it. There are 100 more, hiding in plain sight. So stay with me and come find the next one. Next time I want to show you why stepping out of a dark room into bright sunlight makes some of you sneeze helplessly every single time, while the person beside you feels nothing at all, and why that sneeze runs down the very same great nerve of the face we have been sitting with tonight. Because no matter how new and clever and comfortable you feel, sitting there with something cold and sweet in your hand, the truth is the same as it ever was. Your ancestors never once tasted anything colder than a mountain stream, and their bodies built a guard for the brain anyway, and you still carry it. And every summer you set it off on purpose and call it brain freeze. You did not choose it. Nothing alive ever chose it, and your body still remembers.